Welcome to the Coda Podcast. I'm Rue from Rue Films, and today I'll be chatting with Matthew Pyke from PS Visuals. In a year where the vast majority of the wedding industry has seen a downturn in bookings, Matt has shot an incredible 120, and this is no fluke. Previous years he's been consistently hitting 80 plus weddings, all at a fantastic price point. Even as a solo shooter, Matt has managed to build an incredibly successful six-figure wedding videography business. In this chat, we dive into the exact steps he has taken to be able to do this, his marketing strategies that help him book such large numbers, and the nuts and bolts of actually being able to deliver 120 weddings in a single year. Good evening, Matt. Welcome to the podcast.
Evening, mate. How are you?
Very well, man. How are you doing? How is wedding season going for you?
It's slowing up now, but we're just reaching the end of the madness, I think.
How's the edit queue looking?
Interesting. I think the backlog's about 20 at the moment. So
right, 20. Yeah. And I know your numbers. We're going to go into it, but for me, I think 20 sounds quite reasonable, right?
Yeah. I'm not too bothered. I try and stay about a month behind, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Anything going up to like 2 months, I start getting worried. 3 months, and I'm panicking at that point.
But at the minute, you're on track.
Yeah, good to go at the minute. Good to go. But yeah, I'm sure we'll get into the whole system.
Yeah. But let's tease people a little bit. So I'm going to do a few quick fire questions that I do. I do these with everybody, and so the first one, I think I'm going to hear gasps around the country when I ask this. How many weddings do you shoot each year on average?
Weird one. This year, 120. I am dropping that down to around 85, 90 for next year.
Right. Wow. It's incredible numbers, mate. And so have you been at that kind of level quite consistently for a while, or is this like just a particularly large year?
Since COVID, it just kind of went mental. I think that's probably the same for a lot of people. So that 2021 restart, where we restarted from, I think, June it was, I did about 60 in 6 months. So it was like, and I don't think that was exclusive to me. I think everyone went mental. And I just was kind of like, I feel like I can do this. Like, I feel like, as mad as it is, I feel like I've got a handle on it. So from there, I kind of went up to about 80, and then around kind of 80, 90, and then this year was a bit more mental, 120, and then I think we'll go back down to that 80, 90 kind of average.
Yeah. So whereas most of us had that crazy rush after COVID, you just kept at that level and it just kept increasing, where I feel what most people I've spoken to this year, I've seen a bit of a decline, but you haven't. You've seen, if anything, like you've had a record year, right?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, this year's been crazy for numbers, and it's true what you've said, because I've heard it from venues and everything where they've said, "Oh, we're a bit quiet this year," but for me it's been mental. But yeah, can't complain. It's a good problem to have. Absolutely,
mate. And there's so many questions to go into in just that sheer volume. I mean, 120 is, for me, that's 4 years worth of work for me. So yeah. I'm desperate to go into all that.
But every photographer I speak to on a wedding, when we sit down, I'm almost cringing because I know the questions are coming, and then they'll be like, "Oh, so how many did you do?" And I just know their reaction already. And I'm like, 120, and they're like, "What? Like how?" And then like I think a lot of people average kind of like 40, 50. I'd imagine most people are in that kind of area, and then maybe a lot of the more luxury high end are probably 10, 12, 15, kind of like much lower, but much higher figures per wedding. So different structures, I guess, but I guess I am a bit more mental than
there must be ways and means of getting through it, and I'm looking forward to diving into that. Let's get through a few more kind of quick fire questions before I'll come right back to that subject. So what cameras are you using at the moment?
Sony's A7S3, A7 IV B cam. I usually just roll with the two cameras, and then I have A7 IV in my bag just in case I want a third angle or a camera breaks or something like that. But yeah, generally that's the setup, as simple as possible.
Oh, okay. So mainly rolling with just the two cameras. And what lenses are you usually got paired with those two bodies?
On both of them, the Tamron 28 to 75, f2.8 on both of them.
Right, yeah.
Version 2 is just a little bit sharper. But honestly, I love them. I think people are wary of them because they're not G Master and, they don't cost the most money or anything like that. But honestly, I just can't go wrong with them. I really like them. Yeah. And I love the flexibility of zooms as well, especially for ceremony and speeches, where you want to change maybe focal length or angle last second. I find it really useful for situations like that.
Yeah, so it gives you the kind of flexibility with both your A and B camera. If you need to change angles or whatever, or say for speeches, if you need to become your main camera for a second, you've got that flexibility to change the angle how you wish. Yeah,
exactly. That's it. So there's times where the speeches would just be about to start or something like that, and I'll think, actually, I want to punch out a little bit just because I know he's going to talk about his mum and dad, and I want their reaction in that shot. And then maybe the other shot will be the speaker shot, or whichever way around I want to do it. And also when I'm shooting handheld throughout the day, it's cool to be able to get 35, 50, 75 on one lens.
Yeah.
So moments like bridal prep where it's like bam, 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 everything's happening. You don't have to be kind of like, oh, let me change my lens, or you're not messing about. You're banging out everything that you need, like super speed.
I knew you're handheld most of the day, did you say?
All day, apart from ceremony and speeches.
Yeah. And what are you doing? Tripod and monopod then, or are you two tripods?
Two tripods, no messing about. So ceremony and speeches, two tripods. So I've kind of gone backwards with tripods. I initially had like the super expensive 300 pack, with the three legs on each side, like the proper broadcast tripods. And over the years, I've actually gone backwards and gone for cheaper, lightweight, like travel tripods.
Yeah.
Just to be fast, just like for speed and stuff, and traveling as well.
Are you purposely trying to keep your equipment minimal throughout the day? Is that like an intentional thing? Have you always been quite minimal with your gear, or is it something that you've moved towards?
Something that I definitely moved towards, and a bit of a game-changing moment pre-COVID was the Philip White course. And I think before that, I'd kind of followed the YouTube route a lot of every week there's a new video with new gear and you're adding this. And then I think he was the first person that really, obviously you can see from his stuff, he knows what he's doing. And he kind of came out and was like, yeah, forget all that. Like, you don't need all that crap. Like, just know what you're doing. Focus on the really important stuff. Forget trying to buy new gear. And it was just like a light bulb moment for me, because I was very much in that cycle of like, oh, and I've bought this and I bought this and I want to get this lens and da-da-da. And then it was really like refreshing to just be like, do you know what? Forget all that. Like, you are essentially there to focus on a story, not be a gear nerd like we all are. Just really kind of get to the bones of it.
Yeah, so true. I mean, it was the same for me with Phil. I mean, I've had him on the podcast, and he's a good friend of mine. That mentality of stripping things back, because you're better having minimal gear, a few pieces of equipment that back to front, than having all sorts of different equipment that kind of confuses you with the amount of options you've got. But if you've got like a few pieces of equipment, like the back of your hand, then that's the best way of getting creative, isn't it? Because there's nothing blocking you. There's no like creative
100%,
blocks.
100%.
The equipment becomes part of you.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Like, it's like an extension of your hand almost. And like it's the same with me. Like with them two lenses, they stay on the bodies all day. I don't take them off. Yeah. So like when I'm with photographers and stuff, they're always looking at me like I'm a bit mental. They're like, just one lens all day, and I'm like, yeah, because again, it takes away that thing of rushing to your back. Oh, I remember like back in the day, I knew a couple shoot would be like pending, and I'd run to the bag and, okay, should I shoot this 35 because I want the wides, or should I grab the 85 because it's like a more attractive lens, but I won't be able to get all the detail of the scene, and to strip that back out the way and just be like, I'm just going to rock up with the same setup that I know inside out, and I'm going to be
Yeah.
able to get them three focal lengths, which is all I need. If I need anything else, I can just physically move.
Yeah.
It's honestly, mate, I think there's so much freedom in it, I think.
Is your audio equipment is quite straightforward as well?
Yeah, 100%. Mostly the TXs, the Sony TX660s.
Yeah.
I used to kind of go with the Zoom and then plug it into the DJ decks and all that kind of stuff. And then venues and DJs and stuff just started being so funny about it. I kind of got bored of the faff, and I was like, you know what, I'll just stick with my TX660s. So I have a little sleeve to put them on the mic for speeches, and then I mic up the lapels, and then same for ceremony as well. And I just keep it literally that basic. So there's always a backup audio, but it's another TX660. Like, there's no other kind of stream. My whole mentality and process and approach and everything is all based around how stripped back and basic and straightforward can I make this. Like, I'm not trying to do crazy gear.
Yeah, keep it nice and simple. And a question that I would ask everybody: who's your favourite wedding filmmaker?
That is such a hard one. Do you know, I'm generally like a fan. Like, I'm a fan. Like, even though I do it myself. Like, same with photographers. Do you know what? I would have to go Philip White. I would, because he changed the game for me so much that it would be wrong to go anyone else. Do you know what I mean?
The grandfather of UK wedding videography.
Oh, 100%. Like,
even though he's the same age as me.
yeah, that's it. It is undeniable though. Like, I listened to the one you guys did, and I think it was something you said, and you were saying even people that might not have directly done that course are still somehow influenced. And I was just like, that is so on point, because that trickle down effect of like, you know, someone might be influenced by you or me, that, you know, and then we're then influenced by him, kind of thing. 100%. It's just,
he created the framework, didn't he, that a lot of us have like built our businesses upon, basically, in terms of shooting, for sure.
100%. And I think that's what, at that time, that's exactly what I was searching for, that blueprint of like someone who was established and smashing it, just sort of saying this run away and do it. And the funny thing is, if you look at our work is nothing alike. Like, style-wise and everything, we don't shoot the same at all. But for me, what I took from it was just the approach, just the mentality, the kind of how to approach the weddings. Yeah,
the bare bones that you can then build upon yourself, the kind of foundations. Yeah, absolutely. And so what was your journey into wedding filmmaking? How did you get to this point now?
Quite simple. I was getting married. And then at the time I was looking for photographers, and there was like this sea of like unbelievable photographers. And then when it came to the video side, there was just nothing. Like, it was, well, on Google anyway, because that's what it was back then. There was nothing. It was like granddads with their massive, like, old school camcorders. And just like, sounds rude, but like really shit stuff. And it was like, at the time I was doing a master's in documentary, which translates really well, obviously. And on that course, every 3 months, you had to deliver a short 5-minute documentary or whatever about a certain subject. And my wife was just like, you like do this and you do it better than what we're looking for. It's like, it was just like quite an easy kind of path. And my job at the time as well was just shocking. Like, it wasn't a hard job to walk away from. It was a call centre job. So it was like a very easy transition. And then, I just went for it and literally just clawed my way up from like very basic beginner weddings to a bit better, and just like that, really, just building over years. Yeah.
And how did you get those first initial weddings?
I think the first one was like my brother's friend, or do you know what I mean? Like, them really kind of basic.
It's always how it works, isn't it?
Yeah.
A friend of a friend, or.
And then it was, I think Google back then, because like Instagram was a thing, but it wasn't really a thing like it is now. Like, it wasn't the same. I think Google, really. And then I remember my first proper like all day top package wedding was at the Belfry.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. It was a massive traveller wedding. And it was, I think it was like 16 hours we were there or something for like 500 quid. And it was just like, but you do it to get in, and then you build, don't you? So,
Yeah. And it's a gradual process. You get the weddings just increase in quality, don't they? And then you use those as the bait to get even better weddings kind of thing.
yeah, 100%.
Let's get into the main thing now. Let's get into the main chat. So I always like to know the kind of packages people deliver, because it really kind of like frames everything that we discuss from this point. So can you let us know what you deliver, the deliverables for each of your packages, and also the costing, if you're comfortable with that?
Yeah. So I have one package. Two reasons I have one package. One, I hate messing about. I hate admin. So to know that everyone's on the same package, I like that. For two, I like to be all in or all out, kind of.
Yeah.
I hate half day ones. When I used to shoot them and kind of get into the wedding and then you're leaving, like I used to hate that. And also if you're there and you're thinking, oh, this could be like a portfolio piece, and then same thing, you're like 1 foot in, 1 foot out. I never like that. So I've got one package. So 2,500 for now, going up to 3,000 next year. So within that package is 15-minute longer film, 3-minute highlight, 1 minute Instagram vertical, and then full ceremony, full speeches, because I have to edit them anyway.
Yeah, brilliant. So that's a really good package, isn't it? That's really quite substantial. And you're not interested in breaking it down so you can upsell and things like that. You're like all in or nothing, best way possible, keep it simple.
Yeah, it's such a weird one, and I'm always going back and forth. I love over delivering. I love like them kind of rave reviews where you feel like you've just made their whole year, and they're like, you're the best thing since sliced bread. And I think that because that package gives you everything, like there's nothing you could walk away from and go, oh, do you know what, I wish we would have got A, B and C. I probably could make more money by breaking it down and messing about, but I don't really have a like desire to at the moment. So yeah, I like it how it is. I like over delivering. I like getting really good reviews, and I like that relationship. So yeah, I'm happy with that.
Yeah, it's just a great way to be as well, isn't it? So with every project that you're on, you know exactly what you're delivering. You know, there's no kind of messing about. Like it's the same for everybody, and you price it accordingly, don't you? You know the amount of work that has to go in to deliver that package, so you price it based on what it's going to cost in terms of time and things. So it doesn't matter about trying to upsell, does it?
Yeah, and like everything I do is like super. I don't want to use the word rigid because that sounds negative, but it's just super blueprinted. So I know what I'm doing. I know what I'm delivering. I know how I'm shooting for the edit. Like everything from start to like from the moment you inquire to the moment your films are delivered, I know every step of the process you're going through until you come out the other end. And I like it like that. Like that makes me happy.
Yeah. And what's your kind of time frame on delivering those packages? Do they all get delivered in one go, or do they get like the Instagram teaser first, and is it drip fed, or is it all literally all at the same time? So
going back to being rigid, I do try new things. So what I tried this year was to do 24-hour teaser. Yeah. Just because we're in such an Amazon culture, like Amazon Prime culture, and I think that's really where like content creators are doing so well. They really feed in and kind of reward that culture, and I completely get it. Like I hate waiting for stuff now as well, because we're all so used to it. Like we want something, we want it now. But it was the one thing that I really struggled to get into the workflow. And I was able to do it all the way up until like May, until things started really getting heavier, and especially with like the travel, like the destinations. That's when it was like, okay, I have to scrap this. So I never built it into a package because I was just trialing it to see, is it like sustainable? Can it work? But it was so hard to deliver with like, you know yourself, like if you've got 3 back to back, or if you've got one on the Friday and you're flying out on the Saturday, it's like, unless you're doing it on the plane, which you may or may not, it's hard. It's not an easy one. And I like to keep things comfortable. as they can be. So that's one that I do want to eventually get there, but I haven't worked it out yet.
120 weddings, I can't see how that's even possible, because you must be stacking back-to-backs all over the place for that. And then how were you working it in terms of getting it turned around in 24 hours? Were you having to start selection process during the wedding, like during your break and things like that, to make it sustainable, or?
No. So obviously with the sort of numbers that I started doing, it became really obvious that I was not going to be able to do that as a one-man band. So I bought an editor in. He is amazing. I love him.
I bet.
I love him. I swear to God, I love him. He makes everything possible. He makes kind of expansion possible. It makes the turnaround possible. It keeps everyone happy. Like, keeps me not stressed. It keeps the couples delivered on time and everything. So, but also, what was a real eye opener when I started doing that was I was really panicking at first, because I was like, I guess if you're really honest with yourself, it's a bit of an ego thing. Like, no one can edit like I can edit. Sort of, you know, you get that into your head, but really they can. Like, I think the hardest part to get round is colour. 100%. I think that's the most personal part of an edit, is how you colour it. So I still do all of that myself. But what he does, which takes such a load off me, is he'll do the cull. He'll do the initial edit. He'll synchronise everything. So that first rough cut is all him. So by the time it comes to me, I'm then finessing everything that he's done. And it's turned out so much better than the way I used to edit, because obviously, you know yourself, like we can all kid ourselves and pretend that we're in control of it. When you mid-August, the weddings are piling up, it's absolutely mental. The last thing you want to do is kind of sit down and spend loads of time on one edit and finesse it. You want to get them out the door. And bringing an editor in, ironically, really changed that, because by the time the edit's coming to me, I'm fresh on it. I'm still excited. I'm not trying to get it off my desk because I've got another project, because they're being done in the background anyway. So it gave me that freedom to like really fall back in love with the editing. So even though I'm editing, I'll probably do 20%, he probably does 80%. So all the heavy lifting's him. Yeah. All the finesse and fun is me. So wow. It's honestly, it's a game changer, and I'd recommend that system to just about anybody, because what you think you're going to lose in terms of control over an edit, or maybe integrity of an edit, you know, because if you feel like someone else has touched it, it's not all you or whatever. You'd be shocked at how much it actually frees you up to have more of them things rather than less, because you've got fresh eyes, you're happy to go back over every little detail, you're happy to like change things up and whatever. You feel no resentment, basically.
Wow, this is absolutely fascinating to me, Matt. So let's dive into this. Let's deep dive into this. So you have one person who's editing everything for you. Is it one person, or is there a team of them?
One at the moment.
Yeah. So you've got one guy that's handling 120 weddings for you this year.
Oh, he's a machine as well. Yeah, we're on. We chat every other day. So we're always in communication, and we're always kind of bigging the other one up. Like, I can't believe you're doing this. But he's a machine as well. But
how did you find him?
Through Fiverr.
Oh, really?
Yeah, freelance website. So what I did, I just put a budget aside. I was just like, look, here's like £500. My cut-off point was probably like £1,000, where I was like, if it doesn't work after £1,000, I'm giving up. Yeah. And I just went through, I think he was the 6th guy that I found.
Wow.
Yeah, so obviously they put up their little like adverts and stuff. Then you contact them, and then so it is a process. Don't get me wrong, like, it is a process. And I don't think there's any other way to do it apart from literally just sending your footage off and seeing what you get back. Yeah. And I did that for like 5 guys, and it was shocking. I remember there was one guy in Greece who put my clips onto a timeline and just sent me the timeline back.
Nice. How much did that set you back?
I think it was about $200. So yeah, he's enjoying life scamming me. But yeah, it's just a process. Like everything's just a process. So I went through and I found the guy, and then once I found him, I was just like, look, here's a project. I was like, there's a lot more in the works, and yeah, keep delivering, and I'll keep delivering. So there's a lot of trust involved, but yeah, I've had him for 2 years now. Changed the game.
Wow. Where's he based? What is he? I guess he's not UK based.
No, so he was originally Ukraine, but with everything going on over there, could get into that, but I think that's another podcast.
Yeah, that's like a whole other podcast. Yeah.
No, it's funny because we speak so often. I hear, so obviously you have the news and stuff, but I hear what's actually going on from him, like on the ground. But yeah, so long story short, complications. He had to leave Ukraine and he's now in Poland. So yeah, I'm hoping to get over and see him. Maybe the end of this year, the start of next year.
So he has helped you. Without him, you couldn't expand in the way you have, right? Because I feel that's, and this is a thing I keep putting my head against the wall. I can probably only physically do 30 weddings a year in terms of being able to shoot and edit and live a life as well and be a dad. So the only way for us to expand past that point, and also there's the VAT limit and stuff like that as well. But to expand past that point, outsourcing is the way, isn't it? And to expand your team beyond yourself and leave your ego at the door a little bit to be able to
100%,
drive your business forward.
That you've hit the nail on the head there. That is key, and it's what I struggled with to begin with, because naturally I think we're all a bit like that. Like we all have a bit of an ego, whether we admit it or not. And it is a bit like no one can shoot like me, no one can edit like me. And I don't mean that in terms of comparing yourself to other people, but in your own mind for your own work. And I think that's why you want to keep control. But just giving away a little bit of that and being able to then put more into every single project is way better. It's such a better approach. And I think it's like anything, isn't it? If you look at film sets, it's not one guy running around. It's like a whole team of people all helping each other. So makes sense to me. And every film is usually edited by a separate editor, right? And you find that and I'm yet to see a director's cut of a film that's better than a normal version, because the directors are so emotionally attached to things that they want to keep in for no reason, right? So
fight me in the comments, guys.
No, it's such a good point. And this is like directly applies to kind of what happened, because what I was finding is there was shots where I was attached to it because it was visually beautiful, and I'd shot through someone and the bokeh was perfect and the frame and all this bullshit that a couple don't care about. Like it was all me and it's what I wanted. But then when you send the footage off blind, obviously I work with them all the time, so there is he knows there is an expectation of what I want, but there's not that same attachment. So he can just look at it and go, oh, it's a nice clip, but that's more relevant because that was a moment between the bride and the dad, or and it's just so much better to have that second pair of hands, that second pair of eyes on everything.
When you got the first film back from him, when you were doing the tests, did you know straight away from that edit that he'd done that this is the guy? Yeah,
because it was he just got the brief, he just got me, because I think a lot of the others, there were crazy effects, there was all this mad stuff, and I was just like, it's impressive, I don't want it. Like it's not my approach, it's not what I want. And his was just so, the pacing was spot on, the cuts were spot on. It was just no messing. It was just how exactly how my whole process is, straightforward to the point, nailing the basics basically.
And what was your brief? Had you given how many films had you asked them to edit? Was it just like one long film or?
Yeah, so I gave him a 15-minute, one of the 15-minute edits. Just dumped the footage to him, carried on doing my thing, and then he brought it back, and I was just like, this is the guy. Yeah.
And the music selection, does it just let him have free reign on it?
Yeah, so he's on Musicbed as well, which is what I use anyway.
Yeah.
So we just have like a G drive folder that's just music.
Yeah.
So you know yourself, if you need to swap out music, it's not the end of the world, because generally you're cut into similar beats anyway. Unless you're doing something mental like pulling out an orchestral instrumental for a rock instrumental or something.
Yeah.
Generally you're working to the same pattern anyway. So it's just going to be, if I didn't like it, I'll just pull it out and it's a new song and it's just a bit of a tweak rather than a whole new edit. So yeah, I mean, there's times where that happens where I'm just like, I'm not really feeling that music, but it's fine, because what's going to take me 5 minutes instead of 3 days, it's fine.
And how do you, this is the bit I always struggle with. How do you actually get the footage over there? Is it proxies, or are you having to, how are you able to send the files to them? Like, because it's going to be, are you shooting 4K?
Yeah, 4K 10-bit. So
they're big old files, right?
Yeah, but again, the way that I shoot is quite stripped back compared to other people, I feel.
Oh, okay.
Because like a finished folder from a wedding day for me is probably like 350 gig. And I think, like, I hear of other people, they're like, 700 gig. I'm like,
oh, yeah. No, I'm about 500, 400, 500, I think, something like that.
Yeah, so I shoot, basically when I'm shooting for the edit. So I know...
Right, okay.
I know exactly, it's almost like I'm making the cuts in camera with a few milliseconds either side. So apart from the ceremony and the speeches, which obviously I don't control, that is how I'm shooting all day. Quite similar to a photographer, really, like handheld, get a shot, move on to the next shot, move on to the next shot, just keep going.
So how are you then transferring that over to him? Is it literally like Dropbox kind of thing?
Oh, sorry, the workflow, yeah. So I'll get back from a wedding, offload all my SD cards, dump everything physically my end. I've got like 50 terabytes of drives, dump everything my end, and then upload overnight on a shared G drive, and then he'll pull it down, dump his end. So we've got the backups, like his end, the cloud, and my end. And yeah, I'll just leave it overnight. So if I've got back-to-back weddings, it's just something that I just build into my workflow. I'm like, I cannot go to bed until I've backed up, because it's just necessary.
What if you're stopping over somewhere? Do you have to just not do it that evening?
I really rarely stop over.
Oh, okay. You're all usually quite local, are you? All within the same?
No.
Oh, really? you just get back.
Yeah. I'm just a bit like, for me, going to a hotel sometimes is more faff than just hitting the road and getting back at 1 a.m.
Yeah.
So this year I've been as far north as Yorkshire and as far south as Dover. So I've been everywhere. But honestly, I prefer to just get back the same night, especially because I know that I need to back up and send off. And then also there's even been a few destinations this year where I've been able to use the hotel Wi-Fi and just leave it overnight.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Using their upload speed.
Yeah.
What kind of time do you have, like, in your package in terms of filming on a day? Do you have a set time then in order to be able to make sure you're getting home within a reasonable hour, or is it kind of flexible?
Flexible. So 10 hours is kind of the window I like to be in.
Yeah.
But I don't set a time, because sometimes I'll end up being at a wedding for 9 hours. So I mean, and I'm not kind of lingering for no reason then. Sometimes something will happen and, bands run over, this happens, that happens, and I'll stay for a bit longer. Because at the end of the day, I know what I need for the edit as well. I'm not going to leave without the party or without the dance. So yeah. It depends what happens. Obviously, you know yourself, with weddings, you're at the mercy of what happens on the day, but I try and stick to 10-ish hours, yeah.
And what kind of time do you like to get there, like pre-ceremony? How many hours before the ceremony?
2 hours before. I just find, sometimes I'll do 2.5 depending on logistics, but I just find it the perfect window, because typically all my stuff that I really like is the last hour before.
Yeah, but same.
You don't really want to arrive an hour before, because then I feel like you're unnecessarily stressed then, because you're like, you're walking in the door shooting. I like to kind of just walk in, say hello to everyone, plant my feet, and then slowly get into it. But But yeah, 2 hours is enough for me. I'm happy with 2 hours.
Yeah, I find that's a sweet spot as well, for sure. Like, I get there early, get some drone stuff done just in case of weather changes. Then it's just a case of getting your bearings in the venue and getting people used to you. But I think most of my films, like you say, that last hour, that's the only footage I'm pretty much using. And the rest of it's just
100%.
kind of me filming that stuff that's not going to make its way to the film.
100%. And this is a big part of how I shoot as well. Like, I won't shoot for the sake of shooting. So when I first started, I think I used to feel like I had to just shoot everything. So you just like spray and pray, point and shoot. And so I'd shoot into like dark corners with like yellow light, and there was just no consideration. But now, if they need to get ready in the dark corner with the yellow light, I'll just leave them. I won't shoot it. I'll wait until I can get them into the pretty window light, or whatever it is. Because I think they appreciate that as well. Like they want to look perfect on the perfect day. So that's kind of how I shoot as well. I don't unnecessarily shoot ever.
Are you quite hands-on in terms of perhaps moving people into good light and things like that for stuff to happen?
100%. It's such a weird one because I take a candid approach. I am very background, but at the same time I make things happen. So I don't really ask people to act or stage things or anything like that, but I do make things happen. So even like dance floors and stuff, if I know I haven't really got a dance floor, I'll go and talk to them and be like, I can't leave without some dance floor stuff. Do you want to get on, and we'll make it happen. I think people have a fear that if they ask for these things or kind of take that little bit of control, that there might be pushback but there never is. People are really grateful for it, because they understand what you're trying to get from them.
And is that something that that kind of skill or that knowledge to ask people to do things? Is that something that you've always had, or is it something that you've kind of learnt over time?
No, definitely not always had it. I remember like the early days, the first weddings, things would just be happening and you'd just be like out of control completely. But yeah, I think when you take a bit of control, obviously not overwhelming, but take a bit of control and give the couple a bit of direction as well. The funny thing is, I think people assume that if they're not used to being on camera or camera shy, that the last thing they want in the world is direction. But it's actually the thing that they do want most, because it makes them feel less awkward, because then they know what to do. So yeah, it's definitely an approach that I've just learned just by watching people and being at weddings and just experience basically, and figuring out that if people feel awkward, the worst thing you can probably do is just leave them alone and point a camera at them. Because it's like torture. So I think there's definitely a line, and you do. I think with experience and just years doing it, you do learn exactly where that line is, and it differs for different people as well. So it's just reading the room, isn't it?
I think that's a key phrase for our job, and for people to kind of learn as well. Reading the room is so key for what we do. Like, it's great having these things in your pocket. Like, we know where the best position for people is with light and stuff, and we can gradually guide people, can't we? I've had moments where I know where I've got people into good light by where I know a bride's going to go get ready. I've got to move the chair or something into some good light. So I know when she goes to put her shoes on, she'll do it in that position. So when it goes crazy, you don't have to boss people around midway through, especially when there's like a photographer there as well that you've got to negotiate with in terms of where you want people. But yeah, there's little subtle things we can do throughout the day, isn't there, to make the day go as we want, for people to do things in the good light.
I always try and speak to what they want as well. So I'll always say, can we do it in this light, because it's way more flattering. There's no bride on earth that's going to go, no, I want to look worse. I think read the room 100%.
And know that we're the experts, right? We know trust, they're paying for us to produce the kind of work they've seen on our websites, and we know how we make that. We make that work by putting people in good light. and that's exactly. We need to take control, right? And soon, because I was very much when I first started out that I'm documentary and I don't influence things. And gradually that mentality changed, because if I want good footage, and it's not going to bother anyone if I just say, can we do this over here? Because it's going to look better. Like you say, people want you to do that and offer that kind of advice.
And I think that's it. You go into it and you don't want to be a pest. You don't want to be like, oh, he's asking for something again. But then you do learn over time exactly what you've just said there. I want to give you the best version of my stuff. Like I don't want to let you down if you've trusted me and you've come to me. Like, so giving that little bit of feedback and direction, people really appreciate it in the end.
Absolutely. And getting that knowledge about what looks good and what doesn't, I find I've learnt that through editing, by getting my footage back and looking and going, oh, this isn't working. Yeah. So I've learnt through trial and error. Do you find now that you're outsourcing your edit that you're missing that part, or is it that I guess you're quite well established now that you don't really need to be learning anything? But have you found you've lost that connection to your work, or not really?
Well, no, because this is the thing, and I think experiencing it and doing it, you realise how little connection you actually do lose. Then this is like the game changer, really, because my hand is still on every piece of footage, because he's done the heavy lifting, he's done the cutting, the culling, all that stuff that bores the life out of me. When I get it back, I'm still going through every single clip. So there's nothing that you're going to see that hasn't been touched by me, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
It's just that all of that kind of filler, all that boring stuff, all the stuff that makes me look at my phone, that's all been done. Yeah. So when it comes to me, it's like the only time I look at my phone when I'm editing now is if something's rendering or just the hard drives are taking a while or something. But typically, like, I love it because I can get my hands on an edit. It's back out within a day, and I love it. Yeah.
So, okay. There's a few questions that are running around my mind that I need to try and get out without forgetting any. So the first one is, so what exactly is he... So you're sending him all the raw footage. What are you getting back from him?
So he does the longer 15-minute edit, the full ceremony and full speeches. Ceremony and speeches, obviously, it's usually just a cut for cut.
Yeah.
It's not a crazy creative piece.
Especially
anyway.
With 2 angles, right? That's pretty straightforward.
Yeah. So I mean, the craziest thing I ever do with a ceremony or speeches edit is introduce a third angle. So there's nothing crazy on them anyway. The creativity and the magic's really happening in that 15-minute edit anyway. I take that, go over everything, finesse it, and then break it down into highlights, and then break that down into the reel. So it's like reverse engineering everything.
Right. Okay. So how long is it taking him? How long does each edit take him to get over to you?
He delivers in bulk, so he'll usually do three every 1.5 weeks.
Okay, yeah. So trying to work that out in my head. So yeah, so like maybe 1 week you'll get kind of like 2 come in, and then 1 the next week, or do they all arrive in one go? Do they?
Yeah, they all arrive in one go. So he'll send me the XMLs for Final Cut. I'll just then load that in and then just relink all the media on my end, and then I've got his edit in front of me then.
Oh, nice. But he's not done any colouring. Has he done all the audio tweaks?
Yeah, so he's really good with the audio anyway. He's better than me with the audio. He just knows what he's doing. He's really clean with that. And then with the colouring, I send him my LUT, which I'm always tweaking anyway. So every couple of months I send him an updated LUT. What he'll do is just slam it over all the footage.
Like an adjustment layer.
Yeah. So when I'm getting it back, everything's got a colour to it. It's just then a case of like going into every clip and okay, highlights need to come down. This needs to go. The tweaks until I'm like, right, that is pristine. Like I'm happy with that. And then obviously I can use that for the highlights and I can use that for the reel because it's all the same. It's all the same clips.
And how long are you taking on each edit? Once you've got it back from him, you've got to do your tweaks and you've got to create your highlight and your reels. How long is that taking you?
On a good day, I can do about 2.5.
So what, 2.5 days to?
No, on a day.
So you can do 2.5 weddings in a day?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So that would be, yeah. So what would that be? That blew my mind a little bit there. I'm a bit confused by those numbers. So that would be finessing 2 longer films, finessing 2 highlight films.
No. Because once I've finessed that longer film, obviously everything's graded then.
Yeah.
So for the highlights, I'm obviously using the same clips. So I'm just duplicating that. It's all coloured, it's all ready. And then the sound bites are within the final film anyway. So then I'm taking all the clips that are already graded. You can imagine how that's quite a simple thing to put together then at that point. And then it's the same process again with the reel. I'm just chopping that down again.
Right, okay. But you can get 2.5 full weddings finished in a day. What would half a wedding consist of? Like what would that be?
How do you mean, sorry?
So you said you can do 2.5. What would the half be? Would that be like just one highlight film from one wedding or something?
Yeah, so say I've maybe I've got coloured the 15-minute edit ready for the next day to then go back in and
Oh, okay, yeah. Wow. Okay.
that's a good day. So it depends what the kids are doing.
Yeah, but but at bare minimum, we can probably say that you get at least one wedding done in a day, right?
100%.
Yeah.
It's a bad day if I don't.
Yeah, and what kind of hours is a day for you? What kind of working hours is that?
8 minimum, but that's chopped up all over the place. So
you've got 2 young kids, haven't you? Is it 2 you've got, or is it?
4-year-old, 7-year-old. So
you're in the trenches in terms of dad responsibilities right now, but you're still managing 100%. You're finding those 8 hours as and when throughout a day, right?
Yeah, exactly that, mate. So so when I'll do the school run, just because I think that's a major privilege that we have in our job. I'll do the school run and then I'll come back and then I know I've got at least, depending on if they're in nursery, depending on if I'm picking them up, I've got at least a solid 5 hours there. Yeah. Then depending on, some days are in nursery, one day they go grandma's, so it depends what's happening. But then I'll come back on the evening then. So I'll usually wait for them to go to sleep, put them to sleep about 7:30 or something, then back up to the office, and then I don't know, it depends what flow I'm on really. If I really get into it and I'm just going, sometimes I'm there till like 1 a.m. Yeah. But it depends. Some days I'm not feeling it. Some days I can't get into it and I'll leave it and come back.
Yeah. Do you have any spare time, any free time at all?
I'm coming to Coda. That is
You're one day that you're allowed.
Yeah, no, no, not really. So I do business, I do family, I try and fit friends in. I get ripped by my whole family and friends. They're always just like, "Oh, see you next year," like, because they know. So I think the way I approach it, you have to be a bit obsessive, but that's me. So it works for me. What's
the long-term plan here? Are you trying to make your money now while you're younger and then to take it easy, or are you just like the grind?
Yeah, I'm just I've been like it my whole life, like since I was a kid. I can't half do things. So like if you were to speak to one of my teachers at school, you'd probably have 50% of them that were like, he's the best kid in the class, he answers every question, and 50% of them that like, he chats the whole time and looks out the window. Like there's no middle ground. I'm either in or I'm out. And with this I'm in. So I can't half do things, as you can tell with this whole setup.
And so, in terms of, do you get to see your family though? That's what I'd be worried about. When do you manage to find that time?
Well, so next year cutting down to 90. That is my main thing, really. Yeah. Is just seeing the kids more, really, because when it's gone, isn't it? So, that's probably the main thing that grounds me. Really, and I need that because otherwise
you'd not be stopping. You're just a machine.
I'd do 365 a year if I didn't have them. Wow. But no, I don't know. I just love it. People say like, "Are you burnt out? Do you hate it?" I was like, no. Like, I'm still really passionate about it. Still love it.
And the key to that, obviously, well, just from a logistical point of view, the outsourcing, but like you say, you were receiving your edit at the fun bit. So your edits, is that quite a pleasurable experience and easy to get stuck into?
100%. It's actually brought the joy back to editing for me. Like I used to hate editing with a passion. And I think before I used to do it because it was necessary, whereas now I do it because I genuinely really enjoy it, because the bit that's most enjoyable is when you've got all the boring stuff done and you are wrapping it up and you do have the final product and you're watching it back, and you probably do it as well. You just obsessively just watch it, that loop back, and that's the best bit. So for me, it's like the way it's structured is I've eliminated all of that bit and I still get the fun bit. So I really enjoy editing now, whereas it used to be like a bane before. It used to be like a real I've always enjoyed shooting. That's always where the passion's been. So I love it. I would never go back. Like, I don't think I could go back now.
No, man, you got to keep this editor sweet, haven't you? You got to keep him on board. No.
There's a lot of trust involved.
Yeah. And how much does he charge you for each wedding?
So it's $300. Well, it depends. $350 standard, but then that can fluctuate depending on, like, some projects I'll take more control on. So if a bride has maybe been really specific on, like, okay, I want to do something a bit different or whatever, I'll be like, okay, just leave that one, because I'm not going to relay this whole long drawn out bit of information. I'll just take care of that. So it does go back and forth, but as a standard, about $350.
$350. What's that in pounds?
Again, it fluctuates.
Is that about 300? Quid?
Yeah. I was going to say about 290, something like that.
Yeah, that's really good, right?
The caveat to that, by the way, is he gives me such a good rate because he knows that I'm sending him.
Yes, because you're sending him so many. Yeah, so that's not a rate most people are going to get. That's a bulk rate, knowing that full well you're going to charge. He's basically, I bet he only works for you, right? And he only needs you, as in terms of the client?
Yeah, so in terms of his kind of layout, I think peak summer and all the rest of it is just me. When it hits winter, he'll go off and do all kind of freelance projects, and he'll dip back into that. But summer and all that, he doesn't need to. Essentially, I send him a wage, basically, because of how many it is, and then obviously he tops that up, because why wouldn't he?
Exactly. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. But breaking it down into its bare bones, kind of, we're talking 1 day shoot, 1 day edit on your point of view, £2,000, right? Well, more than that, because it's two and a half you charge for your package. That's an incredible business model, isn't it?
Yeah, it's not bad.
I am so jealous. I am so jealous of you, Matt. You've got it worked out. That's amazing. But it's not by accident. Like, you've worked to get to this point, because you've took that gamble in and testing those editors out, because I've seen it before. Editors are constantly in our DMs, aren't they? And I've asked to see work from people, and it's 9 times out of 10. Well, 10 out of 10 from my experience, absolutely horrendous, this editing that I've seen. So, but you've put that work in there and that time to be able to find these editors. Was the plan always to get someone to outsource to, so you could really scale up to were you always expecting to be shooting like 90 a year, or did that just happen?
No, not at all. It was the COVID restart. So literally when I got to that point, and I was like, how am I going to do this? Like 60 in 6 months. Like, I've never done anything like that before. And don't get me wrong, I think everyone was in that position, in them shoes at that time. And then I did it, found a way through, and I was still, that was when it was all me. So I found a way through. I was like, if I could do that in 6 months, surely I can do 120 in 12 months. Like, and so,
that mindset, mate. Just double it.
Yeah. No, it is a weird mindset. I know most people's mindset is the maximum amount of reward for the minimum amount of jobs, and I completely understand that. But yeah, it's just how I am. That's the only way I can describe it. It's just how I am. Like, I just love it. But when I started, demand started going up and everything was looking good, I was like, I know I need to implement this now, before I'm in peak August, losing my mind. And I think everything I do is a structure, is a like a blueprint.
Yeah.
That's how I kind of figure it out, from like workflows to shoot into editing. Like everything should follow a pattern or a structure. So to have him there really like facilitates that, basically. So yeah.
Yeah. Gosh, Matt, like there's so much I need to I need to ask you, and kind of okay. One last thing about the outsourcing bit. Do you send notes with each wedding, or is it literally a case of here's the wedding, let him sort it out for himself? Do you tell him specific things about the day, or
yeah? So wherever I can, I just let him crack on, because he is perfectly capable. But sometimes I'll just slam a quick voice note and just be like, oh, by the way, with this one, it rained all day, didn't get a drone shot. Can you use the drone shot from the last time we were there? You know, it's like little things like that. But generally, yeah, I just leave him to it, because he's experienced in his own right. Like he's a powerhouse in his own right. So I've fully got trust in him as well.
Yeah, so you can just hand it over.
Yeah.
Okay, now there's a lot. So shooting 120 weddings seems mad. Getting 120 weddings edited, even crazier. But you know, you've got some help there. The admin for 120 weddings. Now you tell me you've got like kind of like a blueprint for things. Can we dive into that a little bit? So
yeah,
how are you managing to keep on top of communicating with 120 brides for the year, and then also when it comes to like the delivery methods and stuff like that? Can you talk us through your blueprint for the client experience?
Yeah, so it's something that I think about quite a lot, and I'm always changing it. Usually, like yearly, I'll change it, and I'm half considering at the moment. I'll just to give context, when the films are done, all 5 films are done, I'll send a link. It's just a WeTransfer link, and then I ask them for the details for their delivery, and I'll send a physical USB as well.
Wow! So you're sending a physical USB to every single one of these couples?
Yeah. And
see the admin on that, mate, 120 times to the post office.
drop and go. It's a Royal Mail service, so you don't have to wait in the queue. You just rock up with a load of parcels and pass it through the window, and then go away.
Oh wow!
And then
can't they come and collect from you these days, Royal Mail?
Probably, but I've got that system and it works.
Let's not change anything.
Don't change it. I just roll in with a bag full of parcels. She usually just looks at me and thinks, "Oh, you again," and then I pass them through. It's drop and go, so I can just pass them. I'll go off then, and then I'll check later on the night, and they like upload all the information. So everyone has a tracking number, and you can just go on the website and just see everything.
Brilliant. Oh, okay. Amazing. Yeah.
But I'm debating whether to go digital or not. I know a lot of people have is it VidFlow? I think is the main one that. Yeah,
VidFlow. Yeah.
I like the idea of that, because I still have people that will be like, "Oh, we've plugged the USB into the TV," and it just eliminates all of that. So I'm definitely might go over to that. So I'm playing with it at the moment, but yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, I hope it's worth it, because for the cost of the posting the USB, you could probably have a VidFlow gallery up there, and then it stays up there for a while.
This is it. Yeah. So this is it. It'd be about the same price. And also VidFlow do that storage thing, don't they, where it's like 10 years or something crazy. Yeah, which that really appealed to me. So I'm always looking at kind of everything, and like you say, the experience of the couples like paramount. Like that's obviously what we're all working towards. But to go back to your initial question, sorry, the admin, I just use Studio Ninja really.
Yeah. And you've got some automations in process. So are you having like a Zoom call with your clients? Because my workflow, for example, 4 weeks before the wedding is when I send out my final invoice. I also send out a questionnaire at the same time for them to fill out, and I like to follow that up with a Zoom call to talk it through. Are you doing Zoom calls like pre-meets with your couples at all, or not really?
Not really. So typically I'll do the like initial call just to check that we're on the same kind of level. They get what I do. We connect. And then from there, once they're booked in, it's like see you on the day sort of thing. If I ever have like an anxious bride or a bride that specifically wants to go through details, I've got no issue. I'll just jump on and have a call with them. But typically people are just happy to make it easy their end as well, and just be like,
yeah.
We've had our initial call. We've put the face to the name. The trust is there. Like,
do you send them a questionnaire?
Yeah. So the main thing for me is like the schedule of the day, obviously to just work off. So the schedule of the day and the addresses.
Yeah. So you've got that information. So basically after that first contact, once they've booked, you're sending out that questionnaire, and then are you sending out like the invoices all at the same time? Is this all automated, by the way?
Yeah. So all automated through Studio Ninja.
Yeah. So that's handling all that for you. So you're keeping admin to a bare minimum, really.
100%. I know some, like I've spoke to some like photographers especially that like send out like newsletters and they're really on it and everything. And don't get me wrong, I admire that. Like I think that's wicked. Like as a couple to have all that like extra information and like that's really nice. But it's just not something that I've really been able to factor in yet. Like realistically.
Yeah. And it's not. There's also, we need to remember we are not their only supplier. Like they're getting bombarded, even like having a questionnaire from us. They've definitely had a questionnaire from the photographer. Like who knows what other things they have to keep filling out. So they're probably happy to have as little kind of interaction as possible. And I guess if that's kind of the vibe you're giving out, it's nice and this is a straightforward process. You know, the couples that you get on board are going to be appreciating that, right?
That's exactly it, and that's what, as part of the whole experience, that's what I want to provide. Like there was no friction. It was easy. He turned up and smashed it. Now we've got these films. Like at no point was it difficult, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's how I like to do it.
So you're using WeTransfer. You must be the first person that I know that's delivering with WeTransfer. So have you got like a specific plan to be able to send, like, because it's going to be big old files, isn't it?
Oh, I've got unlimited.
Yeah. So you just upload it on there and it gives you a link. You just send them that link and then everything's all in the one download. Yeah,
so there's a setting on there where after you upload, if you've got like the pro version unlimited, there's an option that says never expires. So you just set it to that, send it off, and then everything's there. But the reason I've kind of got my eye on VidFlow is I love the idea that I could deliver that and they could sit in bed and have it on there. Like I really like that.
Yeah,
I think that's cool. So yeah, but then I'm always back and forth because there was one of my brides this year who like literally did a whole TikTok review on how much she loved this USB that I'd sent her and how nice it was, and like it's the details that matter and all this. So yeah, I guess you can't please everyone, can you? So I guess it's what makes the most sense for the least friction.
Yeah, I mean, I get the idea of tangible, but I stripped out my package a long time ago just because I'd have them get lost in the post. I'd have people not be able to use them. Whereas if it's and when I took it out, I had no kind of comeback on it. It's almost like people weren't expecting it. And I say now, like in my kind of like pre-wedding kind of chat, I said that it's all digital. It's uploaded and it's there infinitely for for as long as you need it. So if you'll never lose it, you'll never misplace it. You can always just go back to the website and download it again. But at the same time, I get how having a little cool, nice little presentation box, the USB in, would be a lovely little thing to have like as a keepsake. Hi guys, it's Rue here, just briefly interrupting the episode to talk to you about one of our sponsors, Musicbed. Musicbed really is the best platform for licensing music for your wedding films. They have a huge database of amazing songs and brilliant search control so you can really hone in on the type of song that you need for your edit. Chatting to all these incredible filmmakers during the podcast, one of the repeated themes that I've noticed is that they're all using Musicbed to license their music. I myself have been using it for the last 6 years and really don't think there's anything else in the market that comes close. If you'd like to try Musicbed out for yourself, click the link in the description and you'll get a 14-day free trial where you can download and keep 3 songs to use in your projects, and you can see firsthand how good the music selection is. Now let's get back to the episode. You've mentioned it a few times that you have like a blueprint for how you shoot on the day. You say you're shooting quite specifically for the edit, right? You've got the edit in mind with the shots you're doing. Can you talk us through how you approach a day then and what you're looking for?
I'll probably get torn apart for this, but I'll actually like delete in camera.
Wow, so, do you?
Yeah.
Have you ever had an SD card corrupt on you?
No.
Okay,
nothing like that. So if I shoot, I don't know, say I shoot a candid, and like you know, you're always reviewing throughout the day, like what you've just shot and stuff. And so as I'm shooting, I'm also reviewing. So I'll like, you know, shot, review, shot, you're doing that constantly. And then if I know that it was crap, or it was really nice light, but halfway through Uncle Bob came over and blocked the whole shot, or you know, stuff happens, I'll just get rid of it, because I'm just like, I'm just taking that out of the whole workflow. There's no reason for that to be in there. So I'll just delete it before it even hits the computer.
But you're not even editing it. Why do you care?
I don't know. I'm just, it's my ways. It's my ways. Yeah, it's just something that I do. And then throughout the day, I'll kind of shoot as much in fact, to be honest, the whole day, apart from ceremony and speeches, I control the light. So ceremony and speeches, I think sometimes you're in situations where you don't always have full control. Like say you're in a ceremony with giant windows and it's completely backlit, like you can't put up curtains last minute or anything. But apart from that, I think you have the ability to control every single shot outside of them 2 moments. So whatever I need to do, I'll do to make sure that it's clean, because the colour has to be clean, because if the colour's not clean, the LUT won't work. If it's dirty yellow light, for example, I know that that's just a throwaway shot, like that's just a crap shot. And I've had it on days where it's been like raining, like really heavily raining, and everyone's indoors, and we're in this like horrible dingy light, and then there's a break in the rain and everyone goes outdoors, and I'll literally just run round and reshoot all the candids, and then when it comes to offloading, I'll just get rid of the dingy yellow shots, because I know that they're just not going to work, basically.
What do you do if you have a wedding where you don't get the chance to get the outdoor candids?
So there was one the other day. It literally rained like start to finish, and I swear to God, I was just along the windows. I was just along the windows for the whole thing. But yeah, it depends. So that day we were able to get out for the couple shoot. The group shots happened in a section where we could use like a video light. So even that was just enough to not be polluted by the yellow, like fake lights. It was like white light, so it was, you know, close enough to daylight, if you like. And yeah, just work around it the best way you can, because I think that when you just allow yourself to be at the mercy of what's happening and the crap light that a lot of venues have, you're just making life so much harder on the other end when you come to sit down and edit. And I think you need to take as much control of that at, like, in camera as possible. Like, the worst thing you can do is, I'll fix it in post. Like, that's you just kill yourself with that mentality.
Are you trying to get as many shots of guests as possible? Are you trying to be accountable for the capturing all the key people, or is it just a case of you're mainly looking for the shots in the good light?
Yeah, so I'll always try and get a shot of every single person, whether that's 5 people on a wide or zoomed in on one specific person. Just because obviously you want a record of everyone being there, and you want to capture everyone's like mannerisms and like who they are. And then anything that's kind of like interaction with the couple as well is like a gold shot for me. Like, I love them. Just kind of like hugs or anything like that. But yeah, it's a weird one. So if something like really sentimental happened, I wouldn't be like, I'm not going to shoot that because it's in crap light.
Yeah.
And it's just happening. I will still shoot it, obviously, but where I can, I'll just avoid it.
I guess I do that to a certain extent. And I found myself when I first started, I was shooting everything, but then I'd just be deleting and throwing it away. So now it's more a case of like, if the shot's not great, I probably won't take it, or I'm looking, how can I make this good? How can I kind of manipulate this situation somehow to get them into the good light, or kind of, you know, make suggestions to move people? Is that kind of what you're doing?
100%. I think that's like part of our role, really. That's part of our challenge, is to get everyone into that nice light and get them clean, crisp shots. Like I say, I wouldn't completely throw away a moment if it happened, like, and obviously that does happen. But where I can, I'm quite brutal with it. If it's Uncle Bob standing in crap, like I'm just not going to shoot it. I know some people shoot to look busy as well. Like I know a lot of people are guilty of that. They'll kind of like walk around and shoot, and I'm looking at them and I'm like, I know you're not going to use any of that. And I've asked people before, I'm like, are you gonna use that? They're like, oh no, I just want to look busy. But for me, I'm always thinking about like what improves stuff for the couple. Like I don't care about anything else. I don't care about looking like the busiest guy. I don't care about what anyone else thinks. Like if I can deliver that to the couple, that's my thing. That's what I care about.
I think, yeah, that whole looking busy thing, that was something else I used to kind of fall into the trap of. And I was like...
I did in the earlier days.
Yeah. 100%. And you got almost obsessively thinking you need to look like you're busy, but you're almost stressing people out if you're like buzzing around all the time.
Yeah.
So I find that time, if there's nothing going on, there's nothing worth shooting, I take that time now just to chat to guests and kind of mingle with them, because you get chatting to people and they become kind of like accustomed to you, like get used to you being there. You end up getting better footage of them later down the line when the good shots arise.
That's exactly it. And I think part of the skill as well, and I think it comes with experience, is knowing exactly when to turn it off and turn it on. Yeah. And I think like preserving, because obviously they're long days, preserving energy for when you need to be on. Like a dance floor, you need to be on. Like there's no, you can't be strolling around, like everything's happening all at once. But then usually before dance floor, you've probably got a half an hour lull where nothing's really happening. The candies look a bit crap. Like you say, there's nothing wrong with taking that half an hour, just chatting to everyone, kind of like implanting yourself in the day. And then when it comes to the dance floor, they're like, oh, shoot. Yeah. It's less of a, a stranger pointing a camera at them. And also when you come to the edit, then you've only got good stuff. Because people are interacting with you and, doing all that kind of stuff. So, yeah, no, 100%. I think knowing when to turn it off and turn it on is really important as well.
Yeah, yeah. And putting energy into building relationships with the guests and the people at the wedding rather than just spending energy on getting aimless shots from around the day.
Yeah, that's it. Because you then kind of transform from the guy who's there to shoot the wedding completely disconnected to like, oh, it's Matt, like he was nice, we had a chat, oh, and by the way, his films were really good. Like it's more, you're more connected, aren't you?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's a key word, connected, and making connections throughout the wedding is important, just for the enjoyment of the day, to be able to get great footage, but also in terms of getting work at later point as well. I want to kind of come back into some shooting things, stuff, especially how you're handling just the two cameras for ceremony and speeches. But the main question I think that everyone's going to want to know: how on earth are you able to book this amount of weddings? Where are you getting this work from?
So I actually know the statistics on this. So it's 79% Instagram, right? 21% referral.
Okay, so when you say referral, is that referral? Is that all referral? So is that from other suppliers or is that from previous weddings?
Yeah. So there's a few that come through that are like, oh, you did my sister's wedding, blah blah blah. But a big bulk of them are other photographers, planners, sometimes even florists, to be fair. And then the big bulk is through Instagram.
So what are you doing on Instagram to get this work? How are you doing paid ads or is it all organic?
Both. So I'm pretty active on Instagram. I try and be as active as possible, post as much as possible without social media fatigue.
Yeah.
But also paid ads, 100%. I think it's absolutely wild when I chat to people and I'm like, how's it, what you do? And they go, oh, word of mouth. I'm like, what? Yeah. So like, to me, that's crazy. Like if Nike have to advertise and Apple have to advertise, like you have to advertise. Like if you're not doing something, like it doesn't have to be Instagram. Maybe it's Facebook, maybe it's TikTok, maybe it's Google, like, but just something.
Yeah. And what's your approach? How are you doing are you using like the Facebook ads manager to create your adverts, or are you just doing it all through Instagram?
So yeah, I used to just do it directly through Instagram. That's changed a bit because they've brought in this like fee. So you have to do it from like a laptop or desktop to avoid that now, which is annoying. But I used to just do it literally through the phone, and then I would just slightly strip everything down. So females between 25 and 35 in England interested in wedding videography or weddings.
Okay, so that's the audience that you've built to target within the the Facebook Ads Manager. And what are you what does your ad consist of?
So it's literally the stuff that you see on my Instagram. So it'll just be one of them, basically boosted. So it's
right.
Not,
so you're just boosting your posts, boosting your reels, kind of thing.
Yeah. So it's not an independent ad. It's just one of my posts that's been had money put into it, essentially.
And that's what's getting you to work in, boosting those posts out there.
Yeah. So it's a ripple effect, because obviously when you shoot in such a high volume, people get to know you, people get to see your stuff, and then people book you off the back of that. That's all coming through Instagram. Then you've got, so I guess that's more like the organic reach, and then you've got the paid reach on top of that. So kind of that, for me, that would be like the new people that you're putting yourself in front of.
Yeah.
Because I'm in the early days, what used to be really frustrating is I'd meet people or speak to people, and they'd see my work and they'd be like, "Oh, we would have had you for our wedding, but we didn't know you existed."
Yeah.
And it's just so frustrating. So I was like, right, I've got to find a way, whether you like me or don't like me, or do want to book me or don't want to book me, just let me be in front of you for you to at least make that decision. Because if I'm not in front of you, you're not, you've skipped past that. You found someone else, or you've booked someone else or whatever. So really, that's what the paid ads are there for. That's what they do for me. They put me in front of new people, fresh eyes, basically.
And how much money are you kind of throwing at each each post? Sorry.
It really depends on where I'm at or where I want to be in terms of bookings for the next year. Yeah. So if I'm like really down on numbers or something, obviously more money goes in. If I'm quite happy and quite comfortable, like for example, at the moment I'm booked for next year, like next year's done. So I'm now looking at 26. I'll keep an eye on the numbers for that. And then depending on how close we are to 26 and how much urgency I feel, it will change the budget. But if you're putting anywhere from, I don't know, £80 upwards, you're going to get like a good return, 100%. Like if you put, I'd be surprised if you put £80 with targeting and didn't get at least like 5 inquiries minimum.
Yeah. And how many you say if you got 5 inquiries, would you expect to convert most of them, or would it be a smaller number?
I book at 10%.
10%, yeah.
So
that's a good rate though. So how many kind of inquiries do you get a year? Have you got the stats on? Are you like me? Or do you keep a lot of stats?
Yeah. Well, Studio Ninja's brilliant because it does it all for you. So from January this year, I've had 800 inquiries, but by the time the year's done, it'll be 1,000. So then, I book at around 10-12%.
Oh, amazing. I love data. I love that stat.
Yeah. It's reliable.
Do you know though? Because the other thing is you're booking at 10%, but the thing is you're so full that there'll be so much that you've got to turn away. There'll be so many dates you're already booked on from those 1,000 inquiries that come in. Do you have the data? Do you know how much percentage? Because I have that data on mine. Like how many of the inquiries come in that you're already booked on a date?
Yeah. So I had a date last year, I think it was, where I had 16 different inquiries on one day.
Wow.
So like anything, there is definitely downsides, and that is one of them. There's at least 3 weddings this year that were like mega weddings that I had to miss out on because I was already booked. And obviously you have to be loyal to the couple. So that's definitely a downside. And I understand, obviously, everyone essentially has different structures, don't they? So I know there's guys that are in the kind of like really high-end luxury market. They're probably not finding their brides from Instagram. They're probably finding everything directly through planners. Yeah. And they're probably waiting much later in the day to take the bookings so that they don't miss the best ones. Yeah. So it's pros and cons. It's not all positive, obviously, and I'd say that is one of the main negatives, especially for me. I have massive FOMO whenever I see like the crazy weddings. I'm like, oh man.
But then I guess though, like those say amazing weddings in air commas or whatever, like that's just to feed our ego, right? doing amazing. It's so then we can get it. And we can just show off to other people in the industry. Whereas you've got an incredible business, like phenomenal business. You must be. I'd say you're earning probably way more than a lot of these luxury high end wedding videographers by hitting that middle market and taking a lot of it.
Yeah. So yeah, this is. It's weird getting into figures. It automatically feels uncomfortable, doesn't it? This is the thing that if we're just talking raw figures, if a lot of the luxury guys I know will do 10 to 15 weddings a year, and they'll do them at maybe 5 to 7 grand per wedding, let's say. You're still, if you're doing that, you're still capping out, like maybe 85 or something like that.
Yeah, just scraping under that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with that. Like, because fair enough, the turnover's lower, but also the expenses are far lower because you're not delivering 100 plus USBs. You're not paying for 100 plus edits. So it's just different strokes for different folks. It's a different way of doing it. And I think it really boils down to what you enjoy doing and what approach and structure you want to take. Yeah,
because it's kind of like an artistic pursuit for a lot of us, isn't it? So it's a case of big numbers for some people is not what they want. They'd rather some people would rather shoot less weddings each year and spend loads and loads of time in that edit crafting films. But those people that are doing those fewer weddings, if they lose one of those weddings in their year, that's a real risk, right, from a financial point of view. Whereas having got a lot more weddings at a lesser price is not as much of a risk if you lose one or two from cancellations or something like that.
Yeah, I think, just talking crudely, I think it's tough to do 6 figures without outsourcing and expanding. I think I understand the perspective of like, I like to spend 6 months on one film or whatever. Like, I don't know other people's setups, so I don't want to go into it too much. But my kind of thing is, I'm really happy with what I put out. I'm really happy with the reviews speak for themselves. Like, you can look at my reviews and it's like, essays of like how happy they are with the films and stuff. So, I personally, I'm not in a rush to change what I'm doing in that sense.
Does it not give you a kind of indication though, with the fact that you're able to book 120 weddings in a year, that maybe you could put the prices up because clearly there's a massive demand there?
Yeah, it's such a weird one. Prices will naturally go up. Obviously, we all put prices up. Like, you have to keep up with inflation in this country for one. But in general, it's a tough one for me because sometimes I'll shoot, because I'd place myself maybe up on mid-market, maybe somewhere around there. So I get this weird mix of like really high-end, nice luxury weddings, and then sometimes barns.
Yeah. Nothing wrong with a barn. We all like a barn wedding, don't we?
No, genuinely though, this is the thing. Some of my favourite couples this year that have sent me like gifts and everything have been these like Crips Barns weddings or whatever, and it's like, I love that day. Like, I really enjoyed it, like start to finish. Like, I think there's definitely an element of getting too far ahead of yourself and being a bit, I don't shoot that type of wedding, and it's like, but you're missing like a really cool experience there with really cool people just because it doesn't fit a certain maybe perception you have of what you should be, if that was a bit of a word salad, wasn't it? But you see the point I'm trying to make. Like, I feel like you can miss out on experiences by limiting yourself as well.
Yeah, I'm totally on board with that. Absolutely, totally on board. I feel like I've said this in other podcasts as well. I got myself into a point where I was chasing that high-end luxury, and I don't know why. I think it was just because the education out there all seems to drive us towards that. But really, when I take a look at my business, what are the kind of... I spend most of my time at these weddings. What kind of weddings do I want to be at? What kind of people do I want to be around? And there is a lot to be said for like those... there's some weddings where I'm kind of... They've really, I don't know, they've really kind of stretched their budget to get me on board.
Yeah.
And those
Oh,
couples,
that
oh my
is,
word,
yeah.
they appreciate you so
Yeah.
much, don't they? And they love having you there, and they're so on board with what you do. Then I've had other weddings where I've kind of like just been just another supplier, you know, these bigger high-end weddings. I'm just another supplier, and you don't have that personal touch. You don't feel that connection, and it's a different experience altogether, isn't it?
100%. Like, I couldn't have said that better, because it's such a privilege when you know that you're probably the most expensive person there.
Yeah.
And like, it's like, you know, like you say, you know, they've probably stretched or cut back on something else to have you there. And then all day they're just talking about like, oh, we've been following you and watching your stuff. And it feels so good. It like, when you stood there with that going on, you're like, this is why I do it. Like, and so, yeah, there's definitely an element of not wanting to lose that. Like this year I've done, Altea, Santorini, Lake Como, Ibiza. Like, I've done lovely, lovely weddings. And especially at some of the higher end ones, you are disconnected from the couple. You are someone that the planner's brought on board, and you might speak to the couple on the day, but like everything's gone through the planner. Like there's not the same rapport sometimes. So,
and at the price point that you're at, the 2,500, that, like you say, it's you're going to get to experience a lot of variety at that price point, right? Like you say, some people stretching to get you in for certain weddings, but also slipping into that luxury market as well. So you're going to get some great variety across your year.
100%, and I feel like that's something that I really like as well, because I am kind of still just within reach, but also if you've got a bigger budget, quite easy to fit in. So you just get everything. So you get your destinations and stuff where they're happy to pay travel and all of that on top, and then you also get your UK weddings that, like you say, they might stretch to have you there. So and I love that as well. Like I love the kind of variety of all of it.
How do you price your destination weddings?
So I have my fee and then whatever it is. So if for example, I've just booked my first international one in January. A lot of that fee was the travel and accommodation. So I'll have my fee and then whatever it is. So if we were in Ireland, for example, you'd be paying a lot less than if you fly me to, wherever.
So how do you work that out when you're quoting them? Do you literally, you get the inquiry comes in, do you then go on Sky Scanner and look at the flights, or?
100%.
Yeah.
I figure out the cheapest, most comfortable alternative, basically. So the cheapest flight and the cheapest accommodation, but without like potentially getting murdered in the night or anything. And then I'm happy, I'm good.
I've found, like, for pretty much all Europe destinations, it's $1,000 at least for everything. Like $1,000 will cover you in terms of accommodation, flights, and rental car and things like that. So I just put that kind of flat rate on. Or have you found it kind of fluctuates?
Yeah, just depending on where you are.
Yeah.
Because, for example, there was I shoot in Ibiza quite a lot, and a couple of years ago, I was out there twice a week apart. One of the weeks was when all the closing parties happen at the clubs.
Oh, okay.
So the flights were double the price.
Yeah,
so there's stuff like that where, I mean, if you're doing a grand flat rate, I think that's pretty fair. You probably got to be okay.
Yeah.
But flat rates sometimes I think can catch you out just because things can fluctuate and change.
I used to be 500. That's why I changed it to $1,000, because I was like losing out. And do you kind of take into consideration, because obviously you do destination, when you do a destination, what kind of time frame are you flying out? A day before the wedding or 2 days before, and when do you fly back?
Yeah, so I'll typically try and do day before, shoot, and then come back. But it depends, because for Lake Como, for example, they did day before, day after.
Like a pre-wedding and post-wedding events.
Yeah, but then a week later I was in Santorini and all they wanted was the wedding. So it was like day before, day after. I mean, that was a bit different because I took my family and made a holiday out of it, but I would have typically done day before, get settled, shoot, day after, fly back out.
Where are you getting your destination weddings from?
Basically, Oh, in fact, I'll tell you the whole story. It's a good story. So I'm always looking for like new kind of avenues or new ways to like advertise or push things out. So there was an Instagram page called Wedding Bliss. They're basically like a wedding blog page, but they've got like 3.2 million followers or something crazy. And everyone who's in the wedding industry follows this page. So my mentality was, if I can get on the page, that's surely going to put me in front of a lot of eyes. So I had a wedding at the time that I really liked. And I just inboxed them and I was like, do you do like paid advertising? And they were like, yeah, here's our rates. Which is funny because a lot of them pages you would imagine are like organic, like they're choosing the stuff that goes on. And to be fair,
anyone
I think
can be bought, mate.
Anyone can be, but everyone's got a price. I think it's a mix, to be fair. So I think they focus on lots of viral content, which then allows them to be able to bring the advertising content in between, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So yeah, I messaged them and then they sent me their pricing and I was like, that's reasonable. So yeah, I ran an ad with them. A planner from Ibiza saw it, fell in love with it, just messaged me. We're still friends now. This was like 2-3 years ago. She messaged me. She got me on two out there. As soon as I had them in the bag, it was like everyone kind of knew me for destination then, because I guess it's that trust of like, oh, he's done it, he's gone out, he shot it, he got it in the bag. Like it's a trust thing, I guess. But and then that snowballed then, absolutely snowballed. So it was like Ibiza into this, into that. So I've done loads in Europe now.
Amazing. All from that one ad. How much did that ad cost you at the time?
I think it was like $300 for three posts or something like that.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, let's do it.
And what were the posts?
So it was literally one of my reels, and I just sent it to them, and I was like, you can put the wording on, like you know your brand, you know what you want to put on there, what voice you want to put with that. And they were like, yeah, cool, we'll run it at this time. I was like, cool, job done. And then, yeah, they just went away with that then. And then it snowballed.
So a reel for you, is that like the best bits of one wedding kind of thing?
Yeah, so like an Instagram reel. So like a vertical 1 minute highlights, I guess you'd say.
And is that also what you're boosting? Is that the kind of structure, the final product that you're boosting on Instagram to get the work in?
Yeah, so it's one of my frustrations because obviously everything looks better in the original format that you shot it, the kind of widescreen, beautiful wides and everything. But it's just the culture. Like people watch things on their phone vertical, and if you put things landscape, the Instagram algorithm just doesn't seem to take to it at all. And I just don't think it's the same. It doesn't fill up the whole screen. Like you want to be maximizing every pixel on that screen.
And you're creating one of these for every single wedding though, right, as part of their package?
Yeah, because and it really helped me as well. Like people love it because what people were doing was taking my widescreen highlights, putting them through these dodgy apps, doing these mad little crops on them, and it would be like it made it look like my work was bad. I was looking for a word then. It made it look like it was like a really bad edit from me. So I was like, I need to start giving them like take control, social media ready edits, so that when they put it out to their family and friends, which they all do, it's there in the format and ready to go. So like, even if I choose to not put that on my portfolio for whatever reason, they'll probably upload it to their page and it will look polished and finished and exactly how I want it, and not with some like weird weird crop.
Are you doing, so how are they structured in, is it just all your shots just cropped into the portrait frame, or are you using like multiple shots in the frame at one point, like kind of like 3 shots to fill up the frame?
Yeah, no, so I typically shoot wide anyway. So I typically shoot 35-50 for like the majority of the day anyway.
Yeah.
So I'm shooting 4K 10-bit, so I'm essentially taking that wide and punching in to the vertical.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So it's quite easy then. You've got your footage offers itself quite easily to be put into that portrait format.
Yeah, because I think in the early days I was like an 85 mag, like I loved 85.
That's the Phil White influence.
Yeah. But as time's gone on, I just really came away from it. I was just like, I'm missing so much information, especially when you're at like a really bougie, nice venue, but you can't really see it because you punched in on the couple. I also think it's quite a hack as well. I think people generally look really flattering at 35, just because it's not like all the way in on them. And yeah, there's like several reasons, like having the full dress on display for the girls, all that kind of stuff. I just naturally have swung a lot more towards that. I think it's still nice to jump in and throw like a 75 in there, with the nice like compression and background and everything. But generally a lot of my shots are 35-50.
Yeah. And one thing I didn't ask about it kind of lends itself into the reels as well. Because for me, one of the hardest things is finding the right music track for the wedding.
Listen, that is the one thing.
Yeah, because surely that's a stumbling block even for you, right? What's your process? 100%. Have you got a bank of films when you're going to your highlight film? Because for your extended film, your editor's handling that for you, right? And I know sometimes you said you might change the song, but when it comes to your shorter highlight film, you're having to pick that song, right?
Yeah, and the reel as well. There's no way around. There's the one thing I've found no way around. It is what it is. It's just a kind of same as it is for everyone else. Just a bit of a grueling process of going through loads of crap songs until you find the one that speaks to you, basically. But
if you could do 2 in a day, that means you're doing that search twice a day, and you can still handle that.
Yeah, 100%. If I get to it, like if it gets too like tedious or I'm just not having a breakthrough, I'll just walk away for a bit. I'll just take 10 minutes. And then I think like even that, sometimes you can come back and be like, why was I struggling so much? Like even that can just fix it, I think. So, but no, it's the one thing that I've not found a blueprint, process or shortcut for. No. It's, the music, it's the bane of our lives, isn't it?
And do you use a totally different track for the Instagram reel version of that film?
It depends. Sometimes I'll have the highlight and I'll like it so much that I'll just use the same track. But it depends, because like sometimes there might be like I'll have couples that'll be like, I don't want to hear my voice on the reel, because they're aware that that's going to go out to like a wider audience or whatever. So I might have edited the highlight to have their speeches or to have like a really poignant reading or whatever, and then for the reel I've got to change it a bit. So it depends person to person, but a lot of the time, if I love it on the highlight, I'll love it on the reel. So.
And most of your reels making their way onto your grid?
No. You can imagine trying to post 120 weddings. It depends. It depends. I try and be very specific on what goes through the Instagram. I try and be very specific with who my people are, if that makes sense.
Yeah, so you're curating your works to attract the kind of work that you want to book.
100%. And I think that's such a real thing, like such a strange niche. But I did a wedding a couple of years ago in Lake Como, and the groom was an Asian guy and the bride was a white woman. And then I've somehow booked about 6 of the exact same couple. So it's almost like a niche within a niche within a niche.
Like,
and it finds,
okay.
Yeah, it finds its way back. Like that's how specific it can get. So I think whoever you put out, you get back. Even down to like, I remember one season I had quite a lot of like blonde brides, and the next season I had loads of blonde brides. Like I just think it's that specific. Like people look at your work, go, oh, I can imagine that's me. I can see myself. Let's follow this. Let's book this. Like, and I think that's why it's so important to have like an avatar of exactly who your people are. Like you should know. I think it's such a good exercise to just sit down and just write out like exactly who your couple is, like who they are, what they're about, what they look like, what they earn, what they do, where they go on holiday. Like so specific that when you're putting stuff out, you're like, is this them or is this going to appeal to them? And then then you can really build like an identity, like a brand off that. Then, like, I love party people. Like that's my people. So a lot of my brides probably like had a hen do in Ibiza, or stuff like that. It's just, you think it's too specific, but then when you have it figured out, you can reverse engineer it to kind of be a bit more broad.
Yeah.
But it's just so useful to have that kind of anchor point of who you're steering towards.
And who would you say is your kind of target?
25 to 35. In England, probably party crowd, probably kind of like that kind of Ibiza vibe. Quite editorial, quite happy to not be overly posed, but not completely documentary. Like, happy to step into that a little bit. Champagne towers, champagne sprays, fun. That's my main thing. Like, fun. I love fun wedding days.
Because your work really fits very well side by side with editorial photography, and which is very much in trend right now, right? So all the photographers that are doing really well seem to be in that kind of editorial style. When it comes to kind of posing the couple,
that's not an accident.
that's all intentional, is it?
100%. Like, so my whole inspiration for the direction I took everything was editorial photographers rather than videographers, because I noticed it was at a time when everyone was following the super cinematic dark edit. It was almost like the fun was gone. It was stripped away. And then where I was, the images I was most drawn to on Instagram were these photographers that were smashing it, and they were doing these mad shoots, and there was champagne going everywhere, and there was like fancy glasses, and everyone's in black tie. I love black tie. And then I got to a point I was like, that's what I want, but for video. So that's very intentionally where I took it, to a point where if I'm posting and the couple aren't black tie, I'm always a bit like, should I post? Like genuinely, because it has to be that specific, because otherwise you do end up veering off and not steering the ship, if that makes sense. That's so it's so funny that you kind of like clocked that, like saw that, because it's very intentional.
And for me, editorial style is there's a lot of posing, and especially from the photographer's point of view, are you hands-on with the posing, or is it a case of that the photographers that you're working with are generally editorial, so you can kind of piggyback on that? Or when it comes to the couple shoots, are you heavily involved in that?
I'm piggybacking. So I'm piggybacking and then sprinkling a bit of seasoning on top. That's basically, that's the approach. Essentially, the photographers that I work with are really important to my business, because I find that no matter how hands-on you want to be as a photographer, and it comes back to videographer, and it comes back to the ego thing. I think the photographers generally 99% of the time are going to lead the day in terms of posing and what we're doing with the couple and stuff like that. I think you can either try and fight that and think that you're more important, and that's a whole other argument, that's a whole other podcast. But I think it's much better to understand who you're working with and understand almost like the target market of photographers as well. So you've got your target market couples, but you've also got your target market photographers. And for me, that's like a big thing. Like, there's more, sounds like I'm just shitting on videographers at the moment, but there's more photographers that I want to work with than videographers, basically.
The fact that you've looked at the photographers for inspiration on how to move your work is really interesting. And but also we spoke to Dan from Made to Last Films, and he shoots a lot of weddings a year as well, but he's more like in like the kind of 40s 50s, but he's built his business on being really accommodating to photographers. So he gets those big numbers in by making the photographer's day the easiest it possibly can if there's a videographer there, so they all recommend him. By it lets them have free reign, whatever. He doesn't, just keeps out of their way, basically. But it's a good tactic, isn't it, in a way, to keep your photographers on board. Don't be fighting them, because the main thing, because I used to be a photographer myself, when you're a photographer, the majority of the time you're shooting on your own without a videographer there. So suddenly when as a videographer, as much as you don't want to be in their way and you want them to get what they want, you're used to a whole workflow where you can just do what you want, but suddenly there's compromise. So if there's a photographer, if a videographer there that helps you and helps you, you can both get what you need, but you can work together, then you're always going to recommend that person. So building that relationship is always going to help your business.
1,000,000%. Like there's the purely business aspect of it like that, but there's also like on the day there's so much that photographers can facilitate for you. Like I'm crap at flat lays, for example, like, but if you look at my videos there's loads of beautiful flat lays. Like, where do you think that comes from?
Nick that nick that from her, nick that from him.
Because it's not coming from me. But I'll just directly say to them in the morning, I'm like, oh, are you doing one? Because I'm crap at them. And they'll be like, yeah. Like jump on, get this. Like if you rock up to a wedding day with that mentality that you're going to fight them all day and you're more important and I think you're just hindering their shots and your shots. Whereas if you're rocking up and just like, oh, I'm going to work with so and so today, I'm looking forward to working with them, I know their work, I know how they work. You can immediately jump into piggyback mode. You can immediately jump into like pulling everything you possibly can out of that. And then by the time the day's finished, you've literally worked together all day, not just existed together all day. You've worked together all day. Like you've gone and got that for them, they've gone and got that for you. Like, you're now like this mini team, and it's like you're both getting more out of that. Like it's a synergy rather than like a battle.
Absolutely. And just on a human level, we should be turning up to the wedding and thinking, how can we make sure our couple get the best product from all the suppliers, from every supplier that's 100%. Here? What can we do to make sure our couple get the best experience across the board? And that should always be in the forefront of our motivations. But then also, and the good rewards will come from that as well, in terms of you'll get incredible work, you'll great relationships, and everything will level up from just being a decent human, right?
Yeah. Honestly, not being a knobhead can get you very far in the wedding industry. Like, because I've been at weddings as well, where you can tell people are turning it off and on depending on who they think's important.
Yes.
You've seen it. We've all seen it.
Oh gosh, yes.
Yeah. And it's funny because you don't know who can actually be your next referral. Like I say, I've had florists. Some of my top weddings this year have come from florists that have gone, he chatted to me and he sent me a video of my flowers and he's really nice to me. And it's not, I didn't do that with the intention of like, oh, I'll get a referral from her. It's just like, just treat everyone well, and one way or another, it always will find its way back. 100%. Like, because especially with this industry, like everyone's connected, everyone knows everyone talks. So it's like,
those people that you meet in the wedding day that were generally lovely to be around, nice, friendly people, they always stick in your mind, don't they?
Yeah. And it's like, I look at it like this as well, especially for me. But in general, a lot of our life is work. So like, why would you want to spend that uncomfortable or like not happy, not loving the moment for what it is? Like, you're with this person, fair enough, you're not like best friends for 20 years, you've just met them that day, but why not like have a laugh and like go back and forth and just have the best time and like actually have a great experience? Because then that's going to feed into like everything about that day, your memory of that day, like everything.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. Absolutely. I kind of want to go back onto your Instagram a little bit, because you say you're posting quite regularly, aren't you? Did you say?
Yeah.
So how often do you post?
It's sporadic, like anybody. But I try not to be away for more than like a week at a time.
Yeah. And what is it you're posting? Like, is it always usually the reels of like the kind of full day, as in, a whole wedding day, or are you breaking weddings down into multiple reels?
Both, to be fair. So mostly like full wedding reels is what I'm posting. Just because you can then tag everyone off the back of that. You can get the best interaction. Like it's that is the main thing that I'm posting. Every now and then I'll post like a 15-second this or that I thought was really cool. And again, it's cool because you can just kind of reinforce that brand identity when you're looking down and you're seeing everything matches everything else. And it's got that same kind of like look and like brand identity of like, whatever it is you're trying to create. I'm trying to implement more talking to camera stuff, 100%. Just because I feel like that's a very big part of trust building, I guess, and kind of demonstrating to people like, this is me, this the face to the name and all of that.
Yeah.
And I think I've seen people do very well off the talking to camera stuff, the BTS stuff, all of that kind of stuff. So I'm definitely trying to implement a lot more of that.
I don't know. I don't like talking to camera anyway, but then I worry, like, I don't know if I'm going to put people off. Do you know, like a 40-year-old bald guy with a Midlands accent. I don't know. Is that what people want? I don't know.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
It's so funny, this accent, because honestly, when you walk into them like really bougie fancy weddings sounding like Jack Grealish, it's not always the best look, is it? But do you know, it is what it is. We are what we are, aren't we? So we can't bring anything else. This is how we're turning up on the day. So
yeah, that's so true. And it's, again, this is this kind of high-end luxury chasing kind of mentality that was kind of drilled in. It was almost everything needs to be super high-end, thinking I'm not a high-end person at all in any way.
Exactly.
But then so it's almost like I need to hide myself away from the brand, but at the same time I want people to be invested in me as a person as much as my work. And I think I get my best work when it's people that I click on a personal level. That's when I get my best work and my most enjoyable. So maybe so is that kind of what you're thinking? You put your personally out there, you're going to get people that click and on board with you?
Yeah, 100%. Like going back to like just enjoying life, enjoying work, I want to be with as many nice people as possible. So I like people that are going to have fun and going to have a party, but as much as I like that, I like people that are just genuinely nice, because it sounds weird, like as a requirement, but it just changes everything. Like changes how you feel on the day. Like you don't feel on edge or like, you know, you're walking on eggshells. It changes how comfortable you are to approach them and ask for things. It changes the process afterwards because they're more grateful. So it's a big part of what I try and chase, really, is just like genuinely nice, good people. And I feel like putting ourselves out there more is only going to bring our people more, if that makes sense.
Yes.
Because if they see you and they don't like what they see, well, you probably don't want that booking anyway, realistically.
Yeah, that's true. That's so true. Yeah, absolutely. And how on earth are you? How are you finding time to strip stuff out for social media with like your workflow? Are you doing that at the end of every wedding when you're doing your highlights, you're doing your reel? Are you then looking through for your bits for social from each wedding?
So I do it in bulk at the end of every season for the shorter clips, for like the very short 15-second clips that are basically just a clip of a champagne tower or a clip of this or whatever. Yeah. I'll typically sit down mostly at the end of the season, but maybe like at a 6-month mark. But yeah, typically at the end. And I'll just sit down for a day and just go through every project and like, oh, I really like that one, that one, yeah, that bit, pick it all out and just create like a massive dump of like 30, 15-second clips. And I'll just have them all with no audio because, again, music, bane of our life. I'll just airdrop them all onto my phone, and then I've got just a bank then of like loads and loads of clips. And then if there's any trending audio that's really nice or whatever, I can just then put it with them clips. So then I've got a mixture of like crafted, selected, polished clips and also more relevant to that moment trending audio clips.
Amazing. Yeah. And do you boost those kind of things, or is it more the full weddings that you boost in?
100%. So they're literally there just for A, content, but B, to like kind of just reinforce the brand and like, you know, let people know like this is what I like.
Fill that grid up with things that they kind of like target.
Exactly. That's it. But you can't boost them anyway, because as soon as you use music from basically popular music from the Instagram library, it doesn't let you boost them.
Oh, okay, yeah. So that's why, like the ones when you're using your Musicbed track, they're the ones that you can boost.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, amazing. Mate, I'm learning so much like that. This podcast, I learned so much stuff to Nick, but from you, I seem to be learning so much, and it's massively inspiring. So one thing I absolutely love about your work is your grade. You've got real nice crisp blacks, natural colours, beautiful skin tones. What's your process for colouring? Because I know, like you said, your editor puts like a kind of brief grade over the top. Are you shooting in log?
No. So I've got my own. I wouldn't call it my own profile, but I'm basically standard profile with my own settings.
Right. Okay. And what kind of elements have you tweaked in the standard profile?
I'm constantly tweaking. So genuinely over years, like down to the stupidest detail. Like I'll put like contrast up, and then I won't like the grade, so I'll bring it back down, like stuff like that. But off the top of my head, sharpness is up because obviously I'm not going to do that in post. But I do like the crispy look, so sharpness is up slightly. Shadows are up slightly. Contrast is down slightly, and highlights are down slightly. Oh, and saturation is down slightly. So it's like, it's not log, but it's a bit flatter, if that makes sense.
Yeah, so you've got a standard profile and you flatten it slightly, but also it's giving you a starting point that you haven't got to travel too far in terms of getting it graded, which is going to all fit into your workflow, isn't it? And then so in the grade, are you just dropping a lot on top and then tweaking your exposure and that kind of thing?
Yeah, honestly, so because of the way I shoot, like it's nearly where it needs to be anyway. Yeah. Then I drop the lot on top, and then it's like even closer. And then typically I'm just tweaking the exposure, and then usually what I find with the Sonys specifically, I can't speak for the others, but for Sonys, they're naturally a bit green and a bit orange. So yeah. I kind of cool it a bit and put a bit of magenta in there, and that brings it back to a much more natural look, I think. Yeah.
So the look that you use, is that a pre-built one that you bought off the shelf, or is it something that you've crafted yourself?
So it's something that I've crafted, but basically there's it probably still does exist if you Google it. But there's a conversion tool you can get for Lightroom where you can basically have your create a Lightroom preset and then click a button and it converts it into a LUT.
Yeah. So nice. And that was the process that you did before, was it, to create your own?
Yeah, so I did that, and then it's just been a process of basically tweaking the like the cooling and the magenta to figure out how little or how much I want. And lately I found that even a bit cooler than I thought is where what I like, because I'm trying to really focus on skin tones.
And you can see that in your work. There's quite a meticulous effort put into keeping skin tones rich, and colour's quite natural as well. And it really, just the aesthetic of the work is so clean and crisp. I absolutely love it. But I love to hear as well that it's quite a straightforward process for you as well. As obviously everything with your work, you've streamlined it, so you've got your system and everything kind of falls into place for the edit quite simply.
Yeah, it's funny because like my personality, I'm quite laid back, but with work, I'm so like rigid and like detailed. But yeah, it works for me. Like I like systems and blueprints and kind of like going into things half knowing what I'm going to get out before I've shot it.
Yeah. And is that how you approach the wedding day as well? You've almost got, how you're going to shoot it before you even got there?
Yeah, 100%. So I don't know what the couple are going to be like, and I don't know what's going to happen. Like all kinds of madness happens at weddings. I love the madness as well. At the last wedding I was at, they did a champagne spray on the evening, and then they took the champagne and started pouring it all over each other and ripping off shirts and everything.
Wow.
So in one sense, I love it when it goes wild and off track and like completely unexpected. But in another sense, their ceremony would have followed the blueprint. Their speeches would have followed the blueprint. The way that I've shot all of them clips throughout the day follows the blueprint. Even though that's never happened at a wedding before, it's still, do you see what I mean? It's still, I can still stick to, from the point of view of the edit, I can still stick to how I was going to approach it.
I don't know. I'd like to say that I don't shoot kind of to a template really, but then most days, wedding days follow a template, don't they? And it's always going to be, my films are often going to be bridal prep, ceremony, reception, party.
Weddings are generally a template, like when you think about it, because no matter what culture or anything like that, they've all kind of got the morning, the ceremony, the after party, the speeches, the dances. Like, that might look completely different in terms of like heritage and culture and all the rest of it, but it is the same blueprint. It is the same template. That is what we know as a wedding globally. So I think everything is, in my mind, everything is kind of a blueprint of some sort, or a template of some sort. And I think that if we are honest with ourselves, we do all shoot in templates and blueprints, really. So I think being aware of it is just building on what's already there.
Yeah, and it just helps you put systems in place as well to get through the amount that you've got to get through when you've got a business as successful as yours. And I'd say what I've noticed with your work as well, and I guess it falls into that kind of editorial style. There's a lot of focus on couple shoots, the bride, and details. Those things seem to be the main focus, rather than like a lot of the other guests and stuff. They come into it, but the focus does seem to be on the kind of like I say, bride, couple shoot, and details. Is that an intentional thing?
Yeah, 100%. Like everything you see is intentional, basically. But so with the candids, I think if you looked at my Instagram alone, you might be under the impression that I just don't shoot candids.
Yeah.
But what it actually is that if you look at the longer edits, it's chock-a-block of candids. But it's just not. I know that it's not what the couple necessarily wants in that such a condensed, 1 minute or 1 minute 30 vertical reel. It's just like bam, straight in action. I think because it is a bit more editorial as well. I love the couple shoot. It's one of my favourite parts of the day. So you naturally lean into what you love as well, don't you? So.
But then I feel like part of your success as well is that you're tapping into exactly what brides want now, and what the modern kind of bride wants to see. I see you're one of the few videographers that is really tapping into that editorial market, and clearly it finding great success for you. And I feel like the editorial market in terms of photography is couple shoots, details. Yeah,
100%. I think, and again, it does go back to ego. I think a lot of not just videographers, I think photographers are guilty of it sometimes as well. You can almost decide in your head what the couple wants instead of actually tapping into what they want. And I think for a lot of people, it's not a wedding film if it doesn't have like a shitload of added sound effects and a load of candids, and all they have a structure in their head of like, this is what it should be to pass the mark of what I deem acceptable as a wedding film. But really, like, do you know your couples? Like, do you know your brides? Really and truly, if you leave your ego at the door and delve into it, and I think that's the difference. That's just the difference. Like, I've took the time to like really figure out and like learn what brides want, what couples want at the end of the day. And the whole editorial thing, again, for me, it came from the photographers. So a lot of what I do is like, the inspiration is photography. So when that whole editorial trend came out, I loved it straight away. I just loved it. When I was seeing like all the styled shoots and all this kind of, for me, it felt like the freshest thing I'd seen in like around weddings for a long time.
Have you ever had like a couple ask for more candids to be put in at all?
No, never. Literally not once. I'll probably get an email after this.
yeah, I've cursed it.
No, never, not once, because basically everything I do is like from feedback as well. So if I'm getting a certain type of feedback a lot, I'll actually, again, leave your ego at the door. I'll say, okay, that maybe that's not working. Maybe people don't want to see everything on an 85. Maybe people do want to see more wides. So I need to then implement that into the new way of doing things. Because, like I say, my longer form stuff, which you might not like, it's not as accessible online, because you'll see like the Instagram, that's really what's grabbing you, bringing you through the door. When you sit down and look at my longer stuff, there's loads of candids, absolutely loads. So like a majority of that film is candids, the longer film, and it is very much based around the guests. So I guess what you're seeing with the reel is really the advert, if you like. It's really what's catching your eye. Like, that looks nice. Like that's what that is. And then also I wanted to give people something that they can put out that really just like shows off the day. Like, it was epic, should have been there.
Yeah.
Here you go. And then the longer form stuff is really, well, what I'd say is the more sentimental stuff, I guess. It's more personal. And my mentality as well, maybe you don't want to share that with the world. Maybe that is just for you too. Like,
Yeah. And that's kind of your accountability as well in that longer piece. That's where everything goes. But also, I guess, if most of your reels are showing more the details like the couple shoot, then that's what your couples are almost buying into as well. That's the most important thing for them, is kind of those elements. But then they get the extra stuff thrown in top with the longer films anyway.
Yeah, 100%, that's it. So I think, I mean, not just me, this probably everyone has this struggle, but it's hard to actually put out everything that I can do and do. Because it's just like an impossible task, isn't it? But yeah, I try and make the reel a standalone product, basically. So it is different to the main film, is what I'm trying to get at. So when you're watching that main film, you are watching almost like a different film. Like, it's maybe more relaxed. It's maybe like, you know, tempo's a bit slower. It's not as like dramatic, maybe, I guess is the word. And maybe the reel's a lot more editorial, whereas the longer edits maybe more touches of editorial, but maybe a bit more sentimental and stuff.
So your reel is you creating that wedding to the elements that really reinforce your brand and your direction.
100%. And I'm aware as well of where that reel's going. Like, it's going on social media. It's not there for them to, I mean, I'm sure they will, but it's not there for them to watch back in 20 years. That's what the long form film that they're going to put on the TV, that's what that's for. The reel is really to be like, bam, 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 like all this information, this whole like 10, 11, 12 hour day into 1 minute 30. We're going to show everything that happened. We're going to show your story in like 1 minute 30 and the day and everything. Do you know what I mean? It's like an explosion of everything that happened, and it's super stylized and editorial and all the rest of it. And then a bit of a step back from that is the longer form stuff.
Man, you're an absolute machine. I just don't know. I don't know how you do it. I am so inspired and in awe of what you can achieve and the legacy you're building, mate. Because to do these kind of numbers, what an achievement just to be able to get those bookings in. But the work that you're outputting as well, there's no compromise on quality. But it's also but the reason you're able to do that is because everything has been so considered. It's not a case of like, right, you've just slammed all these bookings in there. You've made sure you've got processes in place so that you can produce work to that high standard consistently, despite the kind of numbers that you've got in.
Yeah, honestly, I'd recommend it to anyone. Like, flirt with the idea. Like, if you get an editor, maybe you don't get one for every single wedding, but like maybe you get one for one wedding, and then just see how you feel, see how much more you enjoy the edit, and then kind of compare what you end up with as well. Because I guarantee there's no fall off in delivery or quality. In fact, I'd probably guarantee that you'll be shocked at how much better it is.
I'm inspired, mate. Going to be jumping on Fiverr straight after this. Right, I'm going to finish with one last question, mate. It's a question I do ask everybody. And it's, what were the biggest light bulb moments in your career so far when something suddenly made sense and helped you progress or find a path that you wanted to take?
I think there's definitely been a few. The first one, definitely the Philip White course. I still put people onto that to this day. Like, even though it's a bit dated and just because time's moved on and whatever. Just that mentality, that approach of like strip back, minimal, focus on what's important. I think another light bulb moment was probably after COVID, realising that 60 in 6 months is possible without dying. And then probably the third one as well is the whole editorial movement from the photographers, really. I think that was where I was like, that's what I want to do. That's the look. That's what I like. I love the black tie. I love the cocktail hour. That's it. I think you asked for one and I've given you three, sorry, but that's probably the three I'd go with.
It's interesting. That has been the theme through our chat as well. Those 3 points of what seem to be the backbone of everything that you've done and everything that you used to progress. I guess kind of one question I have about like this editorial. So this whole movement of editorial happened and then you loved it and you wanted to be part of that. Did you just happen to shoot some weddings that had that kind of editorial feel, or did you take any steps to position yourself and maneuver your business into that direction?
A bit of both, because obviously if you have a light bulb moment or you have a bit of inspiration, because we're always a season behind essentially, because we book like a year in advance, you can't implement things straight away all the time. But what happened was I had a wedding that was just fitted straight into that, because at the time I didn't really have that idea of who my people were and who my target market and stuff like that. It was really just, if you want to book me on there, like I'll go with anyone. So it was like, I don't know, like old English weddings with tails. It was like farm weddings with tweed. It was like all over the shop, like everything. And then I had, off the back of that whole editorial movement, I had a wedding that was just like spot on. Like the groom was like ridiculously good looking. The bride was stunning. Like she had like the perfect dress for it with the like the veil that she wore over the face, and then he was in like black tie with the bow tie and everything, and then they had a cocktail hour. It was just like, okay, this is what we're running with. And then I just put a load of effort into kind of pushing that out as much as I could. And then again, like everything else, just a snowball. So like people saw that, people booked me off the back of that. So then the next season after that, every other booking was that. They look like that with the bow tie. And then you lean into that even more, because now you've got a portfolio that you can work with. And then you lean into that even more, because then out of that portfolio of that editorial wedding that you want, you've got your specific editorial weddings that you really want. So it's just like a snowball, and you have to be patient because it does take time and work. But I think what's really important is having that light bulb moment and figuring out, like, this is my people, this is who I want to bring in, this is who I'm going to advertise to. Like, you just get the whole thing maps itself out once you figure that out. And I think there's a lot of people, I see this especially in like the lower mid-market, who have no idea on that. You could say to them like, oh, who's your ideal couple? And they'll be like, whoever's paying me, like whoever hires me, like. And I think it is the start of a downward spiral if you don't have that clear indication of where you're going. Yeah,
because when people come and look at your work, if you're a bit of, I don't know, if they can't see themselves in that work, or there's no real clear identity there, it's a bit of everything, then it's hard for people to invest in you, I guess, is it? Or to kind of to attach themselves to you and want to book you.
Yeah, 100%. And it's always a changing thing as well. Like, Rue today is not Rue of 2 years ago. Do you know what I mean? It's always a kind of adapting, changing thing. But I think that if you don't have that, your business definitely lacks direction. Because how can you decide what your portfolio, your website, your Instagram, your marketing, how do you select what you're putting out or pushing? It's like you've got no bearing on who is your ideal couple.
Yeah. And I think the phrase that I always come back to is chase your taste. So like kind of, what are you into? What do you want to film? What do you want to be doing on a wedding day? What kind of films do you want to be making? And then trying to realize that, and then honing in on that kind of thing, and only showing that kind of stuff. And then that's the work that you'll get. Yeah,
because you're not going to be like you say, everyone's flavour. You're not going to be like, people might see my work and go, oh, imagine spraying a champagne bottle on your wedding day. That's stupid. Like, and that's absolutely fine. Like, because there'll equally be lots of couples that look at that and go, oh, that looks really fun, we should do that. And then straight away, before an inquiry has even been made, it's like, I've got the perfect couple who I know I'm going to have fun with and I'm going to connect with, and we want the same thing, before we've even jumped into the process of inquiry and everything else.
Mate, can't thank you enough for all this incredible information. And you're such a busy man, so just for you to spend that time with us, and also the fact that you're going to be at Coda as well, and you're using up more of your free time to hang out. So
I can't wait. My one free day of the year, and I'm spending it with you,
mate. I am so grateful, and I cannot wait to finally meet you in person, mate, and get to hang out. So thank you so much, and I shall see you very soon.
100%. It's going to be epic.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Coda Podcast. If you enjoyed this episode and wouldn't mind helping us out, please consider leaving a rating and a review wherever you get your podcasts. We have many more conversations with inspiring filmmakers still to come, so make sure to subscribe to be notified when the next episode goes live.